morning, Kristen.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just, huddled in, doing our thing virtually.
Yep.
So, for those of you who may not know, this is Kristen Brown. She is one of our preferred lenders. Actually, you've done one of my loans.
Yes.
And so I asked her if she would join us today so that we could just kind of ask a couple questions because we know the real estate market, but she knows the lending market. So are you actually running loan applications right now?
Yes. Yeah, we're still doing lots of loans.
Awesome. And are you doing them from home, I take it?
Yep, hunkered in my house, but I have access. I have a mobile command center, so I've been fully operational.
Oh, awesome. All right. So I'm sure you're hearing this a lot. In your opinion, is it still a good time to buy a house?
That's a really good question. And it's a question that I'm being asked every day. And my answer has not changed. I think that purchasing a property is a very personal decision. And you have to look at your finances, your credit, your income, your assets, your job stability. And you also have to look at the economic data that's being provided. And then you have to make the personal determination or decision, is it right for me right now? And as long as you have trusted advisors and professionals that you're working with that can help guide you, I think you're still in good hands and it's still a good time to purchase.
Awesome. That's pretty much the same thing that we're telling them.
Yeah.
So with this COVID-19, have the rules changed?
So that's also a really good question. The guidelines have not necessarily changed. Things have tightened up. They're being cautious, and the investors are and not overly cautious. But they're just trying to make sure that they're not putting people in a position to fall into foreclosure. So essentially, guidelines are still relatively the same. There are some tightening in certain areas, but for the most part, it's still easy to purchase a property.
Okay. So is there anything in particular that's different now than it was 4 months ago?
Yeah. The biggest change that I'm seeing for the better is that right now with COVID-19, people don't really want appraisers in their home. And so, right. And so they're making it so that, that there are more options available for drive-by appraisals, for desktop appraisals. There are still appraisals that are happening in person, but fewer than previously because they're trying to keep everybody safe.
Right.
In addition to that, they're also doing verifications of employment, which is something that's always happened prior to closing. You have to verify that the consumer is still working, that they still are gainfully employed prior to closing. They're just doing it in a shorter time frame now. And so instead of 10 days prior to closing, most of the investors that I'm working with are requiring the verification of employment be done 3 business days prior to closing now.
Gotcha. Okay. So
things are changing,
yeah.
you know?
Right. Now it's going to be in the last 24 hours. So I know, like me, one of the things that we've always had in common is that we both like to reach out to a lot of economists to get some information, and we reach out to different ones. So I love picking your brain. What words of wisdom are you receiving from them?
So actually, I know that there's a lot of doom and gloom that's being fed to people, but I actually read something on Monday that I was really excited about. So Freddie Mac came out with an economic forecast that essentially said that they feel like the bulk of the economic damage from the coronavirus will be contained to the first half of this year. And that they expect that by the third quarter of the year that we should be on the road to recovery or already starting to see recovery within our economy, which was really exciting for me. They also went on to say that they feel like the stimulus that's being provided by the CARES Act will actually mute a lot of the impact of a lot of the impact on housing prices, because essentially this act is helping people stay in their homes. So we're not going to see the fire sales or like the flash sales that we saw in like 2008 and 9.
Yeah.
They also said, which I thought this was really interesting, that they, after the next 4 quarters, expect that appreciation should go back to 2 to 3%, which is a healthy economy. Like that's really, you know, what we want to see for housing prices.
Right. Awesome. Oh, that is good news. I like your source. We're hearing a lot of the same things, just different sources. So whenever I hear the consistency, that gives me hope, that gives me assurance that we probably are hearing some truth.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you're working from home.
Yeah.
So so what are you wearing, Kristen?
I do have on pants. Yes.
The other day I was talking to my team. I almost made them stand up so I could see, but I decided I probably didn't want to see.
You know, it's been interesting working from home because my kids are running in and out of the room, and clients are on the phone and they're like, where are you? I'm like, oh, I'm hungered.
Exactly. But you know what? With this day of technology, we can hunker and work.
Exactly. We'll make it work.
Thank you for taking the time to talk with me. And if anybody wants to reach you, we're going to post up your information so that they know how to do that, and they can ask you their own questions or go ahead and put in their own application.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.